Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My brothers and my sisters, what's going on? Some of you already know, the guys that have been watching me, that I used to work a job as a recruitment consultant. Alhamdulillah, by the way, a huge blessing. Though now I own my own recruitment company. When I was working my recruitment job though, alhamdulillah, shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I started to make some good money. So much so that I actually on average over 3 years was probably making about £70,000 a year now. That did fluctuate up and down depending on the months. Like some months I would make more and some months I would make less. Because obviously you have a basic salary, car allowance plus commission. And so fluctuate, but we're gonna say on average I was making about £70,000 a year for 3 years. So I haven't shied away from the fact that after 3 years, I only saved £1,000. Like £1,000 I managed to save working £70,000 for 3 years. I really want to talk to you guys about why. Like what went wrong? Was it just me? Was there an issue? Like what happened? Now disclaimer, I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't the best with money. Of course, I used to spend a lot of money. I was 22, 23 years old when I started making some good money. So there's an element of immaturity. But I really want to give you the exact numbers of where was my money going, because I feel like that would give you an idea of how much does one take home a month after making £70,000 a year? Where was I spending my money? And why did I only have £1,000 left? Make sure you guys watch until the end, because I genuinely believe there's a lot of benefit in this video that you guys can learn from. Like watching this one video, I genuinely believe if you really take a step back and let it come in, could change your whole mindset for the rest of your life. Like wallahi, I genuinely believe that. Before we get into the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and of course like this video. It helps me out a ton. The last video, we killed it. I'm not gonna lie, like I was kind of like, whoa, these guys are amazing. They're liking the video. So if you guys could do that again, that'd be amazing. But straight into it, where was I spending my money? So at 23 years old, I got myself a car. Now, at the time it was on lease. I was paying close to £400 a month, if I remember correctly. Basically what happened is I did quite well for myself. And so they promoted me. They're like, I was going up and up and up, and eventually they were like, oh, you're gonna get a car allowance as well. So I was like, whoa, car allowance? Of course, that means I have to get a car, right? I mean, listen, I've still got the Asian genes. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to get myself a car. So I went out there. I think my car allowance at the time was £250. And I'm like, oh, technically car allowance is £250, and I'm just gonna add £150 to buy myself a nice car on lease, obviously. Now at the time, I have to clear this up. I checked it with a few people, that is leasing haram or is it halal? At the time, I was told that it's actually permissible. Though in conclusion now, I know it's not permissible. The simple reason for that is although you're apparently renting, there are fees involved, like late fees if you don't pay on time and so on and so forth, which nullifies the contract and therefore makes it impermissible for those of you thinking about leasing a car. Now, it was a mistake on my behalf and I want to share this with you guys, so inshallah you learn, and Allah forgive me for what obviously I didn't know. But we move on to, not only was I paying £400 for the car, I was also paying another £200 for insurance, because at the time I basically got 6 points, and well, I had 6 points, and so my insurance was quite high, and it was a 2-litre diesel, and I was only 23 years old. So my insurance was £200. Now that takes the total up to £600. Once I've told you all the numbers, I'm actually going to tell you how much £70,000 is a month take home, and then give you guys an idea of, okay, how much did I have left? So bear with me. So now we're on to £600 for just the car. I did also commute to work. And so on average, my commute was about half an hour. And over the month, I calculated it many times. No matter how slow I drove, no matter how economically I drove, it would still cost me £250 a month. So £250 a month was my diesel cost a month for my car to get to work. So already I'm spending £850 on just my car. Sounds crazy, right? But I also was paying like £70 for this insurance. It's called gap insurance, basically. And for those of you that are like car guys, I'm sure you'll know what a gap insurance is. A gap insurance is basically, because it was a brand new car, if the car got writ off, the insurance would only cover how much the car is worth right now. But because it was a brand new car, say it's worth 40,000, if it got writ off, the insurance maybe pays me 25 grand. So then 15 grand I had to pay from like my pocket. So to cover that difference, the gap insurance was like £75 basically on top of that. So altogether, I was paying nearly £900 for just my car. But not only that, I also, over the 2 years, I remember this specifically, I had to change the brake pads, I had to change the tires, I had to take it for servicing twice. I remember thinking it actually was like £3,000 over 2 years, because I also had to take it to the Mercedes dealership, and them guys were like expensive, man. I can't lie. Like one tire was like £200. It's ridiculous. So on a serious note, like I'm just gonna add another £100 on servicing and all the maintenance and everything like that, because it was a lot just on a car. It sounds ludicrous. I was spending £1,000 a month. Now I know you guys are gonna be like, that's crazy, and we would never do that, but you'd be surprised how quickly the numbers add up, especially if you get a car on like HP or lease or PCP or whatever it is. Then you pay insurance, then you have to commute, and then you have to do the servicing. A car is a very expensive luxury, and there's no doubt about that. So moving on to bills, I was paying about £300 in bills, and that was different stuff. Like there were so many outgoings, you know, the subscriptions, the gyms, everything basically added up to just under £300 for argument's sake. When I give it to £300 because it makes the video a little bit easier and it's easier to calculate. For accommodation, I was basically paying about £1,000, though that did vary, and sometimes it would be like £1,200. And sometimes I would add in bills, which would be about £1,400. Like that did vary, because obviously over 3 years, argument's sake, we're just gonna say it was £1,200. And for anyone that lives near London, I'm sure you guys aren't gonna be like, oh, you're inflating numbers, because £1,200 isn't a lot. And if you guys had a mortgage or if you guys were renting, I'd be honest, I mean, £1,200 is either very average for a mortgage or very low for rent. I mean, that's probably getting you a box room. So let's say £1,200 on average over 3 years. And so we're at a total of £2,500. Now I have to be honest with you guys at this point. I did have a problem and I wasn't the best with my money. I know that. And a lot of my money actually used to go on going out and truthfully eating out. Like I spent a lot of money on eating out. On average, a week, I would eat out at least 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, sometimes I was spending £40, £50 on meals, you know, having a nice meal, then you're having dessert, so on and so forth. Any of my friends will tell you I used to love eating out. I mean, that was the one thing that kept me going, because recruitment's such a hard job. In the evenings, I would feel like I have to go out. I have to go get a meal. I have to, you know, spend some money and sort of, yeah, treat myself. And easily I would spend more, £40, £50 on a meal 3-4 times a week. But for argument's sake, I'm going to say it's £25 a meal. And if I'm doing that 4 times a week, then we're looking at £100, and 4 times that a month is £400. And obviously it wasn't just down the place. I always used to go quite far, to be fair. And that easily racked up to be like £10. And sometimes I'm on the outskirts of London, for anyone that knows, and I would travel to East London, which is like an hour and a half, and the petrol there would be like £10, £15 at times. And if I'm doing that every single week, we're easily looking at another £40, £50 on petrol just going to eat out. But for argument's sake, we're gonna say it was £50, and £450 was going out just on me getting some nice food. So you guys are like, well, Abu Musa, you still had £1,000 left over, so how the hell did you only save £1,000 after 3 years? Well, I'm gonna tell you. See, if you guys have a student loan, then you're looking at £3,731 on the basis of current tax. Like 3 years ago, I think it would have been less, maybe £100 less, because obviously the tax brackets were lower. And so, you know, if we say, for example, it was £3,600 if you had a student loan, and £4,000 if you didn't have a student loan, in essence, I had £1,000. Let's just say I had £1,000 left over. Now, really think about this. I haven't spoken to you guys about groceries. I haven't spoken to you about, in a day, how many times do we just go buy a chocolate, go buy a water bottle, go buy, you know, something, you know, I want some nice headphones, I want something, right? Whatever it is, and things always go wrong. Like the boiler messes up, something goes wrong. Oh, I need a new this, I need a new that. How many times do these things come up all the time? And bearing in mind, I was 23 years old, so I wanted to buy like nice clothes. I mean, I was making £70,000 a year. And this sounds crazy, and you guys will be like, well, this isn't the best mindset to have. And I agree, I didn't have the best mindset. But if I was making that much money and working so hard for it, I felt like I needed to have a nice suit on. I felt like I needed to wear nice clothes. I felt like I needed to have nice things because I was working so hard for it. So for example, buying myself some nice trainers at the end of the month, £100. Buying myself some nice clothes, right? £150, £200. Buying myself a MacBook, £1,000. So there's always things that I wanted to do on top. And that £1,000 in essence was what I had left of day-to-day spending, in essence, which doesn't sound like a lot, and you can see very easily how quickly you could spend that. Now guess what? I didn't have a wife, I didn't have kids, I wasn't married, I didn't have responsibilities. So imagine that person who now does have responsibilities, how quickly he would go through that money. of course, you would be a bit careful. Maybe you don't eat out as much. But surely you want to eat out with your wife. Surely you want to take your family out. Surely you now want to buy your child some nice clothes. So where you might cut back on some of the costs that I used to do when I was 22, 23, 24 and a little bit immature, you're going to have a lot more responsibilities when you're 40, 50 years old. Also, my message to you is very simple. What's now the difference? The difference is I don't try saving more money. Like, honestly speaking, I don't try saving. Anything I make, I just try to make more money, because I realize I can either go by a penny saved is a penny earned, or I can be like, nah, I'm not going by that. Like, I just want to make more money. And, you know, if I make 10 grand, 15 grand a month, how much am I going to spend? So let's just try and make more and not save more. And that's a little shift in the mindset, but it's huge. Because honestly speaking, like, there's only so much. You can't save yourself to richness. You can't save yourself to extreme wealth. It's not possible. But the mindset change of actually saying, no, you know what? I'm going to just earn as much as I can. And whatever I save, I save. But let me just go ham. Let me just try making as much as I can. And that's the actual mindset change that I went through. At that point, I realized it was time for change. And that's my message to you, and that's my message to everyone else. Stop trying to save your way to wealth. Do you really want to live your life just trying to save for 20 years and then find out that at 20 years you're now 40 years old and you couldn't do what you could do at 28? Inshallah, this video's painted a bit of a picture into why, if we could build a community so you guys can basically increase in wealth and start businesses and do better for yourselves, that's a dream. Wallahi, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please, subscribe to the channel, share with your family and friends, like this video. Barakallahu feek. You guys are amazing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.